Hello, time to address the the elephant in the room. It's kind of struggling a little bit to find space amongst all the other elephants that are already here, but the sanding disc, I need it now, and I can probably show you why. Just bear with me 1 second. This is why I'm starting to set up the block work on the build table. I'm only going to show you enough of it to illustrate my point, because the rest of it's covered in rubbish. Still not as bad as it was, to be fair. Yeah, so I'm starting to build up this block work, but this would be a lot easier and possibly, I don't know, more useful and accurate if I had a sanding disc to work with. Especially I need to make some kind of cam shaped pieces to lock the parts of the fuselage against the blocks. Those would just be a real pain to make without some kind of recourse to mechanized sanding. So that's why I have to get to grips with it. And also, it's just annoying me that I haven't really bent my mind to it, been kind of put off for some reason. Back at the scene of the problem, this is the casting that supported the drum of the washing machine that has kindly donated its insides to this, and the challenge really is to mount a wooden disc, a plywood disc, onto the front of this casting. So helpfully they've got these the original mounting of the drum was through the use of these threaded tapped tappings into the casting. They came in at an angle, which is there's quite a lot of peculiar angles going on in there, which I need to address, and that's one of the things that was putting me off. But I think I've arrived at a solution, at least a starting solution, which is to use material of this kind of dimension. I have a bunch of this. I had a bunch of this. It came from one of the millions of bits of rotten old furniture that were left behind here. But it is actually, I'm not quite sure what wood it is, but it's very dense. It's a really quite dense, close-grained wood. Am I pulling focus there? I don't know. And I think it would be perfect for this job. I just noticed that slot in there actually, but imagine it without that. But I think if I can cut this out to fit, I don't know if you can see, there's a sort of a rising part of the casting there. If I can cut that out to fit, and then fit it on there with these bolts running into 2 holes in this, that is going to fairly effectively lock it into position to start with. The tricky bit is getting these angles correct, because ideally what you want is for them to come in really sweetly into this piece of wood at the right angle, so the piece of material is kind of locked in place. It can't go that way or that way because of the taper, or that way or that way. So that's my approach initially. I'm then going to use these holes, two of which have actually been drilled out. The third one I'm going to drill out myself. Those I'm going to let bolts through to hold all the way past this block and up into the sanding disc that's going to be here. I mean, so the point of these fixings is really to carry the rotational forces, and then the bolts that come through the holes will pin the disc down onto the casting in the correct position. My feeling is that the loads on this thing are actually pretty low. Actually, the point of a washing machine being as incredibly heavily engineered as I found out it was really to cope with out of balance forces. If you've got 20 kilos of soggy towels being spun at 1400 RPM, completely out of balance. That's when you need the kind of heft that we're looking at here. In my estimation, I don't think we're going to tax this thing anywhere near its design case by having a disc on there which is chewing away at wood through the use of a piece of sandpaper. So that's my feeling. The use of the original housing as the for the disc sander is further, in my head, a further safety measure really, because this is going to have been designed to cope with something breaking loose, which I'm sure it never would do inside. So I've got a good feeling about that as well, in terms of this is pretty heavy duty plastic, and I think even if something goes dreadfully wrong, whatever's broken loose will be contained. So there we are. So I'm just going to press on with trying to get this thing sorted, probably involving the use of some cardboard to start with to work out what the hell to do. So I've made a bit, I've made a part. This wood's almost as dense as I am. It's unbelievable. I think it might be mahogany of some form, or tropical hardwood. Probably deserves not to be doing this job. Being a tree, preferably, but it's a bit late for that now. So that can fit there. I've got a couple of witness marks there from where the bolts contact with the outside. So now I've just got to determine how I'm going to drill those holes. I think my game plan is to work out what the angle is there, and then just prop the material up on the pillar drill and such that the angle is kind of almost correct, and drill it out. I think it'll be okay if I work out what that, if I line up on the bolt coming through and then work out what that angle should be. I think if I get it close enough, it's close enough. Okay, I'll give that a try. First one done. Doesn't look too bad. At least not from this side. That looks all fairly hunky-dory. If you look at this side, on the other hand, you can see that I'm fairly badly out on the position of those holes. This is causing the whole thing to be at a slight angle relative to the, I'll try and capture it there, relative to the wheel. So, can I tolerate that? I shouldn't do, but I may have to. I've got enough material left to make 2 more, and I need 3, and I've used 1. So what I would probably do is sand the top down till it's coplanar with the rest of the disc. I'm going to see how well I do the other ones. If the other ones, learning the lesson on this, if I do the other ones and they look much better, then I might see if I can find some more of this wood and redo that one. Not bad for a first attempt though. I drilled it out. These are M8, and I drilled it out to 8mm. So they kind of chew into the wood a tiny bit as they go in. Sorry, did I do 8? Yeah, 8mm. So yeah, you can't push them through the holes. They chew a little bit in. I'm not really relying on them threading themselves in to hold it, because it's going to be held by the rest of the disc. But that kind of tapering action on the 2 bolts is actually, it's incredibly secure. So I think I've hit the right, that's the right paradigm. I just got to do it better next time. Be a little bit more accurate with my drilling. But this wood is beautiful. I think it might be a kind of tropical hardwood. It's so dense. It's really nice. It's like kind of a sort of a hard plastic. You kind of just, the drill goes through it really sweetly, and it doesn't tear out at the other end and stuff. There you go. So that'll do for now. See you in the next one. Finished. This is actually a couple of days later. Probably about the same time of night as I was recording before. But yeah, what happened was I did this, and then I think my phone died, so I couldn't triumphantly record what I've done. So yes, it's not gone too badly. All these little blocks are in place. None of them really. I failed to drill any of them out. That's probably the best one that looks the most even. That one you can see is a little bit skew. I think this is the first one that I did, which is the worst one. But I think they're pretty secure. You can see how I marked up the kind of toe-in angle on the bolts that hold them in place. But they're really solid. They feel good. It feels good. I thought this would go really badly, and it's gone okay. All of the blocks kind of just slope down slightly towards the centre, so I'm gonna sand in some accuracy and bring these back to something like a better, more coplanar angle. But I think the main thing with something like this is that you take out any eccentricity, because it's always going to be, with something that rotates, it's always going to be out of balance forces that are the things that you really have to worry about. So what my next step is going to cut out the disc to become the sanding disc itself. Find the centre of this, which is going to be a curious thing. I think, well, obviously it's going to be somewhere in that centre point, but it's going to be interesting to work out exactly where that is. Probably going to have to pop it back into its housing temporarily to kind of do the fitting and make sure that everything's kind of rotationally in the right place, I think. And then once I've got that all sorted, I'll probably get an ice pack on the cover it in grease, get an ice pack on it to shrink that axle down as much as possible before I re-establish the interference fit inside the bearings that are here, and they're covered in grease. I think that would be a good idea. That will get us there. And then, yeah, once this rotor and hopefully some form of disc is inside that housing, then I suspect at that point I'm going to pop it up onto the wall, do that part, so I can then work on it at sort of chest stroke, I don't know, hip height, where it's actually finally going to be. I think that'll make life easier to actually work on putting some kind of bed on it, so I can sand things, which needs to be at 90 degrees to the axis of rotation of the disc, and also some kind of a guard, so all the rotating parts and the belts and stuff are concealed and out of harm's way. Well, out of the attention of my young children, who quite like to get their fingers caught in machine tools. It's one of their hobbies. So yeah, great. So that's that. Anyway, I'll call that one there. Yeah, so this is Sunday the 20th of February, yeah, so I'll do that. I'm waiting for the weather to warm up so I can start looking at actually doing a little bit of gluing back through there where my bomb site of a build table is. So yeah, but at the moment it wouldn't be safe to glue anything because it's still just too cold in here, because I haven't insulated it properly yet, which is another thing that I have to do, but it's just, I'll add that to the massive list of things to do. I'm kind of hoping that the meteorology will help me out there a little bit, and the whole planet will warm up a little bit, on, well, at least this half of it, before I have to do that. Okay, thanks very much, and catch you on the next one. Bye now.